So how we can build a trust among the people, which is the key if you are faced with a society with a conflict. The key is a trust among the ordinary people. Thank you very, very much for this nice introduction, Ivica. And at the beginning, I also really have a pleasure to be today here. And thank you, dear friend President Ivanov, for inviting me in this session, and Academy, and all these organizers. If I have the real answer on that question, I deserve the Nobel Prize, because speaking about the Bosnia, it's not so easy, because Bosnia, from the historical point of view, was always in the time of the peace and always in the time of the conflicts. We typically said to each other, you know, it's so nice to live in Bosnia because people here with a different religion, different ethnicities could work together. But every 40 years, all of us become crazy and we start a war. So it's difficult to be at that time there. In the meantime, it's not so bad. It's relatively good. Now, there is a big challenge, because the last war was really a war, because 3% of the population in Bosnia was killed. 40% of the population was displaced. Bosnia today looks different than before. It's not so mixed like it was. It's more collection of the territories where one group is majority. And but honestly speaking, if I compare the difficulties of that war with the current situation, I think that Bosnia is the last, maybe last, successful example of international intervention, globally speaking. After the Bosnia, I cannot remember a case where the international community was so successful, because at the end of the day, we live in a relatively peaceful situation with a lot of tensions, but not the conflicts. And the reason for that, honestly, is because all the big players were together. This is the last time when the Russia, United States, European Union were together, having the same opinion. After that, I can't remember that, and if I see the situation in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Middle East, everywhere there was division, and immediately there was no solution. Internally, we have a lot of challenges, in spite of the fact that the war finished almost 30 years ago. Do we have a real reconciliation? Unfortunately, I cannot say yes. I have to say, until now, still the answer is no. Why? Because when you have some sort of the civil war within the country, there is something which is common. Everybody believes, all the sides believe that they are the victims. And if there is something common in Bosnia, this is the feeling that my part was a victim. All the others were wrong. We were only innocent, all the others were responsible. And there will be a need for a long time just to be patient enough to reduce these tensions and then to start to really rebuild the real reconciliation. Of course, the role of the leaders there is extremely important. You can have NGOs speaking nicely, trying to rebuild the trust among the people, but this will not have so big influence like the real political leaders who will promote that. Did we have it in the past years in Bosnia? No. I like examples, so I will say one example. At the beginning of my duty, when I was a member of the presidency, I proposed to the other two members, I'm a Serb, Orthodox, there were two other members, Bosniaks, Muslims, Croats, Catholics. And so we don't have a single president. We have presidency, so that means I'm not the real president, I'm 1/3 of the real president, which is even more difficult than to be a president, because you have to negotiate with the others. And I proposed something which didn't happen until then, and even didn't happen after that, because we couldn't succeed. My proposal was that three of us we'll visit the places where the three ethnic groups suffered, were killed. That we will all go there together and to pay the tribute for the victims. And we said that we will not speak, we'll be there just to put the flowers, that the religious leaders of that community will pray in front of other religious leaders and us, and that we will show to the public that we respect all the victims and let's try to rebuild a trust. Unfortunately, we didn't succeed because one member said, okay, two of you can have one place. I need two places because my part was the biggest victim. And we didn't succeed. Everything was agreed. Even the religious leaders agreed to that proposal. They believe it was good. And unfortunately, we didn't succeed that. So how we can build a trust among the people, which is the key if you are faced with the society, with the conflict. The key is a trust among the ordinary people. That is the real challenge, how to build a trust, not immediately full reconciliation, but at least a trust that the other side is honest enough. Without the real leaders, it's very difficult. As I said, NGOs, they can have their role, media, they can have their role, definitely it's important, but as long as you don't have politicians ready to show that, it's very difficult to rebuild that. We didn't have these politicians. And because of that, I still believe that the real reconciliation is still not there. Bosnia, like a country, is not more complicated than Swiss or Switzerland or Belgium. It's not more complicated, but there is one big difference. They honestly accepted the rules. We are trying still to cheat, to make some Balkan ways to misuse the rules to be in a better position. Once we accept that, I think that we can be very optimistic about the stability of Bosnia. Bosnia is definitely needs, maybe even more than any other country of the region, to be a part of European Union. Once we are the part of the larger community, we are not so bad, because our internal differences then are immediately irrelevant. But as long as we are isolated, we are pressed to be, against each other. By being a member of the larger community, our internal differences are less relevant. We have to accept the rules developed somewhere else, not among us. So there are no real reasons for the political conflicts. Unfortunately, based on your experience, I may be even more pessimistic than you, because being so long in the politics, I experienced very strange behavior, especially from the Brussels. Because all these years when I was alone in the political scene, always formal statement was, our doors are open to you from the Western Balkans. I was in one informal dinner before the European Council meeting, when the key leader said, that was in 2006, after Croatia, there will be no more enlargement for the decades. Not one decade, but decades. And now we are 2 decades after that meeting, and maybe I'm becoming old, and because of becoming old, a little bit too pessimistic. My impression is that during my lifetime, there will be no enlargement in the European Union. And I said to a group of the colleagues, I'm ready to pay the lunch for all of you if I'm wrong. So, but I'm relatively experienced person to have these statements. So generally for the young generation, if you want to be the leaders, you have to take very often the steps which are not always welcomed by the public. If you want to be just politician, just do what the public expects and you will be successful. But the real leaders, they have to do from time to time something which is not always completely accepted by the public. Thank you.
Thank you.